Hi everyone.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome everyone. We are here today to talk about how to turn from operator to owner, to stop working in the business to become working on the business today.
Yes.
And so we build this webinar for entrepreneurs who want to build a business that runs without them being there every day to run it. So we're going to cover financial clarity, we're going to cover team development, leadership, and we're going to cover executive coaching, life coaching, right? So today we have our host, Eunice, a life and spiritual coach. Can you tell me a bit more about you?
Yes. Well, let's say I became a recent coach, a life and spiritual coach, but it's through all the life experiences, and then I'm enjoying this moment. So all this became apparent that I was my path was to help others, grow in their journey, because due to my own growth. So I decided to become I at some point in 2023 I had made a decision to become a business owner, or in this case it was real estate investment. And then at that point, all of the things that one carries, from childhood to now, those things came to the surface. So as I stopped my real estate investment, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery. And then this is where I discovered my path, my new path, which is becoming a life coach. So yes, this is me in a nutshell.
All right, cool. And I am Remy. I'm the founder of NetStep Consulting. I spent quite some years in the corporate business, being a finance guy, an operational guy, finance operational guy, managing finance for big corporations and across the globe. And we done that for 25 years in 8 different countries. We actually lived together for 27 years.
Shocking.
And we did that crossing countries, adapting to different cultures and different languages and different problematics when we are working in a different kind of businesses, and you change from country to country and different kind of industries. So my background is actually finance, organizing teams, organizing finance teams, processes, optimizing growth for companies, helping them put company goals into projects. And nowadays, I'm actually work as a fractional CFO to support small business owners. And also, I'm a leadership and executive coach where I help people to build teams that are actually consistent and high-performing teams, and helping also get out of the way. We're going to see today in our conversation that sometimes we tend to become the bottleneck into our own company. So together, we bring this international and multicultural experience. We bring that experience of working in 8 different countries. And actually, we just not just the two of us, it's the two of us plus 4 kids. And we've been moving country to country, adjusting every time with the whole family. As a great experience. And so out of that, we also work in multiple languages. So we only, today is a presentation in English, but yesterday we did a presentation in French. But we also work in Portuguese and Spanish. So we can cover really the whole Americas.
Yes.
But we also cover part of Africa and a lot of parts in Europe.
Yeah.
So we can cover. Right, this is about us very quickly, and we're going to get started about our today's agenda. So what are we going to do today?
Yeah. So today we have our first topic will be about the pattern. So we'll talk about why the founders remain the ultimate bottleneck in their business, even after building a solid team. So this is because this is again the discovery of oneself. So because I discovered that in my own person, I imagine, and I've seen in many of our clients how actually the subconscious, many is like really subconscious. You never know about them. You're like, I want to build this. This is what I want. This is what I get. But then along the way, you discover that, why am I doing this? For instance, it would be, why am I so controlling, or why am I avoiding some topics, or what of this? So those are the things that we work with our business owners, with our clients.
Yes. And the second point of the agenda today is the pillars. We're going to cover 3 different areas. We're going to cover finance, we're going to cover teams and leadership, and we're going to cover mindset. And those 3 together is what we offer as a an holistic approach to our clients, and this is true fundamentals transformation that actually allow your business to work without you somehow. Okay.
Yeah. And then the journey. So what actually changes at each stage of growth, from financial visibility to full autonomy. So in this case, so let's say you will start with do our a whole, I would say, like we review exactly where you are, and then we take if from your financial visibility, see, because many of this we'll see examples, and then how you go from your, I have this business, I have this team, but it's still not working. I have the best systems, I have this, but something's still not working. So we will uncover all that, and it will teach you through that stage how to go from where you are right now to exactly where you want to be, and eventually either sell your business or just play golf or go on vacation or do whatever it is you want to do, knowing that your business is all taken care of. Yeah.
And so finally, the last point we're going to cover today is our next step, your next step actually in that process. And so how to assess your organizational maturity and what you need to do to be able to go to the next level by yourself, always or help.
Yeah.
Right? Where is the button? I think we have lost the button. Here it is. So why this business? Why people create a business initially? And from the conversation we've had with different people, the thing that comes very frequently is freedom.
Yeah, it's freedom. So for many people is, well, when you create a business, well, you assume you don't want to be part of a corporation, or just because you have to solve a problem. So it's a financial, it's time. You want to spend time with yourself, with your family, and your loved ones. A lifestyle designed around you, right? But also, like I said earlier, solving problems for yourself and serving others. Which is a noble thing to do.
Yeah.
So that was initially the vision. Like everybody has a vision. It's like, I want this. But then somewhere along the way where you were doing your business, it went all buried or it disappeared. And then you become, and then under the business itself, right? So that's what
I think what was trying to say is that at some point you had this big vision of being freedom and be free for any obligation. You can just respond to yourself.
Yeah.
But as long as you're responding to yourself so much, at some point you become trapped into yourself. So you have no business anymore. You're just in the business all the time. You actually have switched from a job in the corporation to a job in your own organization. And you lost this idea of freedom at some point. And then so this is where we're trying to help you guys get back.
We do not try.
We do. We help you guys get back to that vision and get back to that freedom that you want. So we talk about the startup truck. What is that? Like I say in the beginning, it makes sense. You are the first person. You're creating the business. You're alone. You have to do everything. You have to be calling clients and serving the clients and collecting the money and taking care of your finances. You have to find the solving IT systems problem that you have, all done by yourself. But as it goes, everything goes through you, and it's normal. And it worked.
Yeah, and then you became the expert. You have the knowledge of all of that. All that knowledge is
in your head all the time. And because you know everything, because you started from zero, you created from zero, right? But then the business grow and the habit stuck.
Yeah. So then the hard work, of course, we see that hard work paid off, and revenues climbed. You hired your first employees, yay, just to keep with the frantic pace. And then yet you continue to hold on to everything because that's how it always worked. But right now, I have this example where, like, let's say, as you're growing, of course, there's money coming, and then you hire more employees, and then it continues to grow. But then, because everything stops at your desk, you are the person they come to because you have not changed the way you used to operate. So the problems become bigger and bigger and bigger, and then somehow you find yourself not able to even go home at let's say a reasonable time to be with your family, to be with loved ones, friends. So this is what we decided. Well, we can help there.
And that's what we call the growth trap, because as you grow, and at the beginning you were controlling one thing and you have to control one thing and one person coming at a time, and it's easy. You can go and come back to you, and they let go and you come back another. There's always one person. But then as you keep growing and you have more people coming to you for questions and for decisions and everything, and you reach a point that you're actually spending your all day actually solving problems, deciding, and but you have a team that is there. And so your team is not underperforming per se, is just that they're waiting for you to take decisions. You build a system around yourself instead of building a system where people are learning by themselves and take decisions and act by themselves. So you actually create a trap for yourself. And sometimes it comes from the place of, I want to help. I want to be the hero. I call it that this hero syndrome. We want to help, and because we want to help, every time something comes, yes, let me help you. But that creates a cycle that is, at some point, creates more damage than actually solving things. And that's what we call the bottleneck. And so 100% dependent on your decisions. All the knowledge still lives in
your head. So your team cannot make the decisions. You build the company on because the reasoning never left your mind, right? And then your every decision looks back to you, like I was saying before, looks back to you because they lack not because they lack competence. They're very knowledgeable, but because they lack context. So you had this idea of, this is my business, this is where I'm going, but you've created all the system that still live in your head, and then you're like, okay, you don't share your vision with them. And then one of them is they no longer know what's the context, what's the vision, or they have, you told them do this, do this, but everything comes back to you to check everything, right? And then that's where we say, well, this is actually not leading. This is just button of disguise as leadership. So this is where we come in. Is we come. I don't know if you all remember that movie from, I think it was Harry Potter. At some point, there was a wand that took up the all the knowledge, the thoughts and knowledge, and then put it up in a sort of a well so they can see it. So if your people can see where you're going or where your vision is, everybody will rally behind you because they know where they're going.
And that's one thing that's interesting, is that sometimes we think we're sharing our vision, but the way we explain things is according to how we think things are. And people might understand your vision differently, and they don't might really understand the detail that for you is a detail, but for them it's important to understand the context. But sometimes we have that vision and we're going to do that. And for us, one sentence summarize everything. But to be able to share that vision, actually that sentence isn't enough sometimes. You need to have a bit more context, and that context is living in your head and you're not able always to share it, right? And so that's the idea of how we extract that in a way that allows you to really help your team have all the information necessary to take the decision right. We have also this, what we call the financial blind spot. As company grows, and we see that on a regular basis with all the clients we have this confusion between revenue and cash flow, revenue and profit. Sometimes we don't understand. We get big clients, but we're actually missing money at the end. So we say, oh, I'm billing, but why is it that I'm struggling at the end of the month to get the right number to pay my bills? And that's something we call a blind spot, because we don't have a structured approach to look at the numbers. And that's not the point of trying to make everyone a specialist in finance. That's not the objective of that. It's just getting the right place to look at and understand a little bit the language, and understanding what we do and what's the impact of what we do into our business. And so we work with entrepreneurs that are very good at what they do. They are brilliant entrepreneurs. They know their business inside out. But what the operations is, they manage it very well. How the operations impact their finance, sometimes they don't understand it. And we are here to come and to help them bridge that gap and make sure that they understand what they're doing, what's the impact on one side, and vice versa. Okay. And sometimes we see a lot of clients, we discuss with them and say, so how you take decision? Well, more or less by gut. I have my gut, I feel that this seems right, I'm going to do. But sometimes the gut doesn't work all the time. So it's good, but not always all the time. Okay. So This is what we're going to share with you today, the core transformation.
Yeah. So we were not here to give you more work. You don't need to work harder in your business. You just need to become the true owner of it. So because what we mean by that is like at first you have to work very hard to be where you are. But right now you have hired strategically people. So you have put people strategically in where you think they are, right? So we will help you see exactly where these people are they in the right role, are they in the right place, or every own decision you have made, and maybe you need to change some stuff, but this is what we help you go through them. Yeah.
And so in that transformation, there are 3 pillars. The first one is the financial clarity. This is where we are to help you building dashboards. And dashboards, we're not just putting here just right at the beginning. We're not trying to build a 100-page dashboard at, I don't know, the Google side or IBM side, whatever. We're trying to build a dashboard that is useful for you. And if you just need to track one thing per month, then it's fine. It's one thing per month, but at least something that allows you to track your business. And it's also helping you have a vision on a regular basis, maybe monthly, or you can have budgets to help you showcase what you do to banks, for example, understanding planning, what's understanding when you need more cash or less cash, when you can potentially see, oh, I can invest things because I have more money coming through. So this is all what we build for you to help you have a structured approach into your finance.
Yeah. And then for team development, it's we help you deploy a robust process. So your team takes initiative and drive the business forward independently. Because right now, what we've seen in some of our clients is like they have teams, but they still don't know really. This is like okay, do this and then go and check. So they don't take initiative. These people are not just there to listen to what you say. They can make decisions of their own. The only thing is like, how do you go about that? How do you release that so you can actually feel safe in that release of that ownership of you, and then you can actually feel more comfortable, not just safe, just comfortable releasing it and knowing that your business is well taken care of, right?
And so that's what we do in terms of team leadership, is actually helping you build teams that are empowered to do things. But also it comes with this last point that we're going to discuss about executive coaching, which sometimes what's in the way of building our teams is ourselves.
Yes.
You want to expand on that?
Yes. So it's the because, like I said at first, I'm becoming a coach myself, because it's like I was the one on my way. But in this case, we have, for instance, an example of one of our clients where when he came for us, he said, well, because for this one was a quite interesting case.
Yeah.
He said, well, I had this business, I had this partner, but I didn't want to see, I knew something was wrong, something was not working very well. Some of my suppliers were not be paid because the money was, anyway, something was shady in it, but he didn't want to see that, right? But at the same time,
want to
confront that. And then on the other hand, he says, well, I still need to have the control of everything. So this is kind of a two subconscious partners that are running underneath. So he doesn't even aware that I need to control, but at the same time, I don't want to see confrontation about anything. So this is where we discovered that, well, somewhere along your way, childhood, whatever. So when it comes to control, in many cases means that during your childhood or your formative years, there was some chaos in your life. Somehow. I'm not saying there is, but might have been some sort of chaos. In my case, for instance, was when I was very young, so that my parents were very controlling, but also it was a personal thing that happened when I was 16. So that brought me to need to control of everything. So I had this sense of, if I control everything, nothing bad will happen. Yeah. But this is a business. So then obviously you have people, you have banks, you have suppliers, you have many things. So you can't control all of them because each one of them is their own entity. So we help you actually build a relationship with all of them based on trust, and then not control trust. And
it's not blind trust.
It's not blind trust, of course. You have all the dashboards and stuff to not understand where you're going. but it's also yourself saying that, you know what, I can trust. So this is what we help you with them.
It's actually switching on the light on things that you didn't realize were there, and that were probably blocking you in the way you were acting with your team. So you have maybe a great team, but you are not working with them fully because there was something inside you that was stopping you from actually fully trust them.
Yes.
And so that's what we uncover that into that work, make sure that you can go on to the next stage with a free mindset and be able to go there in full trust and allow you to build something that actually will allow you to really enjoy your business. So the first pillar and is called financial clarity. And when that pillar, usually we help people building dashboards, tracking dashboards to help them have the data centralized in the way that actually help them build a business. I have a company I'm working with at the moment. They work with projects, but they have no way to track how much projects are actually work in progress, which one actually has been built, how much has been finished, how much have transferred from one year to the other. And so that creates some questions about, do I have the right resources in place? Can I actually optimize my procurement? All of that is not possible because they're actually not tracking that. They have information in different places, but they're not tracking it. Cash flow monitoring, the same thing for that company, is because those projects can sometimes switch from dates, maybe delay or something like that. The entries of money, but also the outflows of ordering things might actually be completely changed one way or the other. We don't have that tool available for them. Investment decisions. If I do want to hire another person in my business, or if I need to buy a new machine, would it make sense? Yeah. Does it make sense to do it now? Should I do it later? At what point do it make sense? And those parts of the work is based on that financial clarity, having the tools to be able to have all the data available to analyze your decision properly, understanding how your operational decision impact your finances and your cash. So we have a case study about one of my clients. Actually, this is not an isolated situation, actually. I came across situations similar like that several times, but here's one example that was quite interesting. I came to work with a client, and it's just as I was starting to work with them, they just had signed a big contract, and he was very happy to tell me, well, we just signed this amazing contract. We're going to have, it's actually $1 million per month additional for what we had before. It's amazing. They were in the business of payrolling people, okay? So they was amazed. That's great. Everyone was happy. But suddenly, as they start operating that, and that's when I joined the business from a project, they realized that they were struggling a lot. And what this didn't realize is that to be able to perform that business, they had to advance cash because the negotiation of that contract meant that they will be paid in 90 days. So before they started, they had to pay the first month about $900,000 of salaries to employees, but still not being paid. They were invoiced at that point. Then they had to wait 90 days to get that. So during that 90 days, they had to pay salaries 4 times more before actually the money get in. So they had to actually find $3.6 million of cash in their business. And that was creating a magnificent chaos in the organization. They were in multiple countries across a large geography, and they had to try to transfer money from all those subsidiaries to that one to be able to pay the salaries every month. And they were paying a high interest of about 25% interest on each of those things just to support that out. So that is one we don't understand the impact of our business into our finance. So what we did with that was actually trying to renegotiate that contract. So what we negotiated with the client, explaining what was the situation, and we ended up having an advance of $1.8 million to actually start us cash flowing a little bit more. And we also negotiate, instead of billing once a month, we will bill weekly so that the cash will flow more quickly. So by doing that, our needs of cash actually decreased from 3.6 million to 900,000, which was something that they were able to cover with their business. So that's an example of decisions that could make a sense in the sales part that maybe make no sense in terms of finance. And then after that, we actually build a tool with them to allow them to, every business like that, to see the cash flow implication for them in their business before they say, yes, it's a needed thing to react to that, right? So
but it doesn't mean you reject the client. It's just the contractor you have, because it might be a great opportunity. But it's actually knowing that if you have a little bit of insight, like or information, because like, okay, if I'm going to get $1 million and it's costing me 3.6 million, maybe it's not that ideal for my business. However, if I can negotiate, it's like, see how can it might be interesting to have it. Maybe in a short term, it might have been, oh, this is nice, but in the long term, it may be not right. But in the future time, you're like, okay, this is working. Maybe it's something like that as well, that we can help see. Now it doesn't seem like a great thing. Let's negotiate to see how we can help, and then you see how this actually has impact for you in the future, not just for the next 3 months or the next year. Is to project how is this actually interesting as a deal. Potentially in the future.
And that's exactly what was the case with this client. It's a great client that they had multiple locations. So by doing it right in this place, we potentially open the door to working with them in other places. But the starting point was not the right one.
Yeah.
And we had very low margin. We had a lot of cash needs. When we added the interest rate on that, we actually were doing very low margin on that program. And there was project that were doing much less cash that was giving us much more return than this one.
Yeah.
So there was a need of strategic positioning versus something else. But the fact that you have that allow you to have all the cards in your hands to have a proper negotiation.
Exactly.
And decide if it actually makes sense or not in some cases.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
This is one example. I work in another company where we had a similar example, but the need for cash were 10 million at the beginning before we start negotiating. And once we negotiate, we actually brought it back to 2.4 million. Same kind of situations. So this is important when sometimes in certain moments, we need to have someone that can actually understand what's the impact of what you do in terms of your numbers, right? And that's what we bring as an example for companies.
Yeah. And the number 2 is the empowering team. So building trust, the trust required to let go. And then so we're talking about the letting go. So one business owner hadn't taken vacation in 30 years. So that's a long time about taking vacation.
Especially when you think that you build a business to have freedom,
to have freedom, right? So another was stuck for 2 years because stepping away generated more mental stress. It was more stressful for him to go away than to just say, you know what, I'm not taking rest. What's the hell? So in this case, we help you with skill development. So what we do, we're strengthening your autonomy to eliminate you as a mandatory checkpoint. That's so important. So for this, I give an example of my own when I work for my 9 to 5. I'm a project manager. So what I do is like, I was having this conversation with my boss, and we said, well, with the process that we have here, with all of the decision point or even the approval point, anyone can just come in and do this job. I can be removed. Anyone else can come, or you are not even needed to this because we have so detailed instructions that anybody can do. We even create this what we call the emergency approvals, and then because we know if you're not here, you are not here, but we need somebody else who can do it, has the power to do that, so the business doesn't stop. This is one of the things we can help you by actually bringing that, removing all the things that you have in your head, your processes, bring them down, and we analyze what can be done even when you're not there. So this is a process designing, extracting knowledge from your head. And then the one that is the culture shift, which is moving from team of passive operator to results-driven collaborators. Because this is one thing that's example I'm giving of myself, was that actually empower your team so much, knowing that they make decisions, they know they're trusted, they know they're valuable members of the team. So they go from just tell me what to do to how can I help today?
Maybe I thought about something.
I have an
Maybe.
idea. Maybe we do this. It might not be, oh yes, I'm ready to do that, but at least you know you have a team member that is willing and is able and is also available for change and for growth.
And when you start involving on developing people like that, they feel a bit more valued.
Yes.
And they get more confidence in themselves, and they start to bring ideas, to bring innovation, to create new things, to question. Like you were telling yesterday when we did the same version in French yesterday, I was telling that sometimes they actually bring new ideas. Why are we doing this way? Can we do it this way instead? And sometimes we never thought about that, right? So that's the benefit of it. And we have here a case study of that person that was actually 2 years without taking vacation. And like Eunice was saying, that this person actually was struggling that much because every time I go on vacation, it's a chaos when I come back. So I had to work 3 days before going on vacation, make sure that everything is on track. And when I come back on vacation, I have to wait 3 days to solve all the problems that someone created before when I was away. So it takes out the fun of the vacation. So what we did with that person was a several step process. And the first one was evaluating what was the concern, what was actually stopping him, what is the common mistakes that the people were doing, what maybe was not clear, and what do they need to explain from it. So once we clarify and we actually zoom down on what is missing, what's the gap that they need to actually grow, then we started the training process, but not in the regular way. Sometimes we say, well, training, we're just going to sit someone in the room or theoretical and we say, this is what we do, and learn it as if it was a school and take notes and make sure that you understand.
It's seldom effective, by the way. Yes.
And that's doesn't work. And so the way we work with that person and working with him into that process was to help him sit down with the employee in question and show the process in detail. So really sitting on the computer or whatever and say step by step, this is what we do. And they show that and then let that person do it. So if it was I was explaining to Eunice, I will show her step by step how to do it. And then I say, now you turn Eunice. And Eunice will take the computer and start doing the same work. The computer or anything that we have to do. And we'll do it 2 or 3 times while I'm sitting next to her. And at that point in time, I'm still here to answer questions. So where do I click again? Where do I do this? I'm still here to support her in that process. Now I've done that 2 or 3 times. Now she's more or less comfortable. I know that's the point when we call that integration part. So I'm going to say, hey, Eunice, now that you've done that, could you actually write me a small process with it, as SOP, standard operating process? You write this process with your own words, the way you want. It could be images, screenshots. It could be charts. You could be using AI to do that if you want, or you could be writing in your own paper. Whatever the format is, the one that works for you, right? And so Eunice works on that process, and a few days later we sit together again and we review the process again, and we try again. It says, following the process, can I do the work again with that process? And it works. We answer the questions. Maybe there is a couple of dots that came in through that. We adjust a couple of things that maybe have not clear. And now I'm going to say, all right, Eunice, now you have a process, you've written down, you've come across, we did it several times together. Now I'm going to let you do a few ones by yourself for 2 or 3 days, maybe a week. Okay. So here's the things you have to do. There's actually the same thing we've done today. There is another 4 here or 5 then. So I'll let you do by yourself. Okay. And in 3 days or 4 days, we're going to meet again. And you're going to tell me how you work. And then you're going to sit again and we say, so what worked well? What was easy? What are the things that you'll figure out that maybe were a bit more difficult? And that's the same kind of re-putting another level of that and explaining. And the important part of all that is she has written the process. So she had to make a conscious effort to remember all the steps, clarifying, and maybe sometimes making mistakes while doing the process. But because she's doing that, as we correct, then she's correcting her process and she's really integrating the knowledge.
That's exactly the point, integration. Because then when you integrate that, and then this is where I say this is where people are empowered. Because then if you're telling them what to do, they become like, oh yeah, and even feel like, oh, why the hell? Feel this loss of sense of not having anything to do with anything. So, but by doing that, then the person even can, like we were saying before, say, wow, I like this process as it is. However, why can we do this if it be shorter, or can reduce even, reduce cost by doing this way, or, we could take less time, or we can do, and then that person, then you see how valuable that person is. It's time to see that because I did it, because I took the steps, I as a manager or as the business owner took the time, because some of them will say, I don't have time for that. Well, is it you don't have time for that, then you will continue not going on vacation.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about I don't have time.
Yeah.
And that comes very frequently, is that I don't have time to do it. It's quicker for me to do it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's quicker for me to solve that thing than train someone. But when you think that you do that every day and it takes you 5-10 minutes every day to solve the thing that someone has done wrong, you do that and is repeating every day this 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Now you take time to train the person. You might take a half an hour, an hour to do that, But once it's solved forever.
Yeah.
And that person not only is doing the work correctly, but suddenly says, "Oh, I can bring new ideas too," and it's starting to empower that person.
And then this is one of the things that, so when I say as a coach, you say, "Okay, I don't have the time." My answer is make the time. Or if you don't make the time, is for me is how badly do you want to go on vacation? How badly do you how is it, do you value your time? Is it how badly do you value anything that you want? That freedom that initially you had at the beginning, how badly do you want that freedom? So if you want that freedom, so make the time. It's not our 4 hours that you spend with the employee. It could be like a half an hour. You can decide how much do you want.
Yeah. And that person we're talking about exactly the same thing. It will be the same thing. I don't have time to do that. But by booking in his calendar an hour the following week, if he's able to actually do that training. And as he goes, the catch up that he does was like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Overall, he might have invested an hour and a half, 2 hours in that process. But now you have someone that can do it without him.
Yeah. And then he feels like, okay, if I go away, there's no anxiety of me saying, if I go back, at least that part of the process that I train will be done. I'm not stressed about that one. So then he discovers that, oh, if I'm able to release this, what about this one?
Yeah.
What about this? What about this? Then he realizes like, oh, actually, I'm not as much needed. You're needed on strategic things, like you can even start a new business or do something else, another project. Like that.
So once just to finish that process we did with that person is initially we did a short practice. We did those 3 days. 2 days later we just review, clarify the questions, and then we did that for a few more weeks. Again, autonomous this time. You take care of the whole week. At the end of the week, we meet again for maybe half an hour or 15 minutes just to catch up. What is working? Everything is working. We just have a quick look at what was done. We just give feedback and we carry on. And at some point, instead of meeting every week, we're meeting every 2 weeks or maybe once a month. But what happened then is when he wanted to go on vacation, you just make sure that everything was clear. There was no more doubt in the person. There was everything understood. He went and enjoyed his vacation. And when he came back, he just did a quick checkup to see if it was all right. And there was no big surprise, actually. But that's not where it stops, because that was one of the process. And he carried on this another process and another process. At some point, he has free so much time in his day-to-day that he's actually been able to register to his MBA. He wanted to so badly to do an MBA. Now he had the time to register for his MBA. And he did an MBA, and he graduated from this MBA and actually opened his new opportunities in his career for other things. Yeah. So that's the power of actually starting to be able to empower your own team. By empowering your team, you're empowering yourself too, right? You want to cover that?
You can go.
Okay. So
I'm a bit thirsty. I'm going to pick some water and coming back.
Okay. Yeah. So what the last part of that, and then we discussed a little bit before that, is sometimes there are things that are stopping us from, for example, to trust our team or to delegate on our team. And when we start exploring that, as we discussed before, is that you maybe have some controls and conscious trust issue that we have, right? And so what we do into that process is actually naming the pattern and is identifying what is then conscious behavior that is actually driving that need of control or stopping us from taking decisions. Okay, maybe sometimes we are people pleaser, or we don't want to frustrate anyone, or we are overly controlling, and then we try to understand the root cause of it. And so we disconstruct the belief. We make sure that we're trying to understand that what is bringing you this belief is not automatically connected to something real. So then you don't automatically mean that your worth is equal to what you do in terms of volume. Sometimes people say, okay, I only value if I do a lot of work and work 10 hours per day. If not, I'm not valuable, or everyone was telling me I'm lazy, for example. And that could be a belief. Okay. And then we work on practicing the letting go. And it's not like we're jumping from a building. It's just little by little we practice how we let go. Little by little, some small things that allow you to feel comfortable in that process. And then feeling says, oh, I test it's working. Oh, actually they're doing it well. Now I can release something else. And little by little we start releasing that. And so we get the full freedom on all that.
Yeah.
So we had an example here that we're going to cover with one of our person that we work with. We had several situations like that, but one of them is with a senior leadership that actually went from an individual contributor role as a subject matter expert to a team lead, a manager of a team, and then he was struggling with that. So the situation is that he didn't want to delegate. He wanted to control everything. That was the reason that they actually say, okay, I'm feeling I cannot do any more my work because now I have to do all my work, plus I have to control everyone. That doesn't work. And in fact, the reason for that is that he was identifying himself very strongly with the expertise. So him was only valuable because he was an expert. That was what he was telling himself. And success for him means being recognized for doing a good work, being the person that everyone was coming to and finding solutions, and everyone, business with their boss, his bosses, and everyone was, oh, we can count on him because he always has the answer, always find a solution. And so for him, it was the feedback was, I'm only good if I can do that, right? And if he's not delivering, then there'd be no recognition. So we had to help him redefine his success. And success for him was initially success. My success was my work, myself doing the good work. And instead of doing that, we start exploring what actually is your boss expecting from you, because maybe you're still operating as before, but maybe your boss is actually expecting something different from you. Okay. And then that shift came in from that, because he had to accept that now it's not about him getting the result, because he doesn't have time anymore. When you lead maybe 16 people, you don't have automatically time to be involved in all the details of operation. You have to take a bit of height into this process and actually just coordinate his team to make that things happen. And so he realized that now the success was meant his team succeeding, not him himself. And it takes a while, because now it was always like the top performer. He has those awards every year. Now he had to renounce of it for the sake of having some people in his team having those awards instead of him. But by working with his boss, he understands that actually his boss is actually valuing that, says your team did good, and that was as much as an award that he was actually receiving. So now I had to change his success to say, I'm going to celebrate my team's success instead of being myself. And so it means that he had to redefine his identity more in line with his current objectives and with the expectation that the bosses has on that. But that doesn't come quickly like that. It's not just this person we work with that person for 6 months until he gets really rerouted, because we have to maintain that, because at some point we replicate things again and we come back into the old patterns. So how we put things together to make sure that those changes stay and we can carry on working. And actually, in his case, he was freeing himself from certain things, and he was pushing these patterns to one of his managers below him. And I recognized at some point, hey, this is what you're doing to him. And I realized that he had to help his manager go to the same transformation that he was going through. It was quite an interesting work to be done. Right. So here's what we're going to do, and this is what the way we work together with the entrepreneurs that are working with us. This is our fourth stage.
Yes. So the first stage is visibility. So we're getting a handle in real time financial indicators for data-driven decisions. That's our step one, because it's like you say, go see a doctor. Doctor won't say you come to I'm sick. Doctor does not say, take here Tylenol, you'll be fine. Take it for 10 days, you'll be fine. Just like we diagnose, we have a diagnosis phase where we look at everything, what's going on, not just the business, but also yourself. So this is the visibility portion of it. Yeah.
And then we go to the structure. We're going to, once we figure out the finance part of it, and we have tools to measure and understand what your business are, we're going to work on how we can create the structure around it. So how we can empower your team through a formalized process, but also to help you understanding what's the thing that you have to do in terms of leadership to make that happen, and not getting into, or I say, the hero syndrome mode that we're going to save everything, and sometimes it's counterproductive.
Yeah. And then the number 3 is like teaching you how to let go. So this is the redefining your identity Remy was talking about. It's like to see shift from hands-on appraisal, where you are the business, to a strategic facilitator where you observe, you create, and now you can from afar. You can still obviously manage your business, but from a different plane, if I say. Yeah.
And then that comes to the last point of it, which is freedom, which is what basically we help you do, is actually go back to a place where your business run, delivers, and grow without requiring you being there every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's a few questions. Eunice, is this only for large corporations?
No. We work with early stages of your business. So both when you're starting, which is actually ideal, but not just that, but also with people who are already established, people who are already having, I don't know, 6 figures employees, and then making a good revenue in their business. So from where you're beginning up until where you are, we meet you where you are, and then we work.
So we have one of our clients actually at the moment is he came across a difficulty in his business, and they were rebuilding his business. So at the moment he have back to zero, and the point we're working with him is actually helping him think through the process of what he needs in terms of finance, what he needs in terms of team, how you're going to structure with a proper plan of how he's going to structure and transfer his knowledge, so that when the time comes in, and we know that it's going to come in the coming 3 or 6 months, when the time comes right, they already have everything in place. And that's what we're working with him. But we're working with other clients that actually have been working in the corporation for 30 years sometimes. And they need that moment because they want to get to a point where they get out of the business, potentially sell the business or transfer to someone, and they want to make sure that the business is running without them. So we work all across that depending on your needs, right?
And then the other one is like, I don't have time for this right now.
So that's exactly why we are here. You don't have time, so you don't have time for going home at time. You don't have time to go on vacation. You don't have time to anything. And so what we're doing is not adding on top of that. We're trying to help you transfer some of those hours that you are working on, transfer that back to someone that's in your team to do that you can actually free that time. And usually when we start doing that work and understanding what's there, you can easily find sometimes 10 to 20 hours per week back in your day-to-day, because we help you move this back to the right person and empower your team in the process to make sure that they can do it in a proper way. Right? So here's your next step. If you feel that this is really appealing to you and you need that help, there is no commitment. You can just click on that QR code or book and you can book a discovery call with us. And in this process, we're going to work a little bit more in detail with you, understanding a little more on those 3 pillars, what are the areas that we need to work with. And from there, we can help you understanding how we can work and support you in the long run into that process. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, we were very happy to have you today.
Yeah,
and
so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And feel free to reach out to us as soon as you need.
Yeah.
The link is there. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.